Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. You might be thinking, a book video? Yes. If you guys, you may or may not know that I did start a book channel back in like August or September, and I haven't posted on that in probably since November because it just, like, having two channels, one in and of itself for some reason just like stressed me out, and two, I made my book channel because I was just loving reading so much and wanted an outlet to talk about books on, similar to why I started my YouTube channel. But I found that, one, I felt like I didn't have a lot of content ideas to really post, and two, I felt this like stress and like need to just like crank out reading books without really like enjoying them, because I felt like if I didn't read like 10 to 12 books a month, then like what was I even doing with my life? So I like took a pause and really got to thinking of like whether or not I wanted to keep my book channel. And I do love reading and do want an outlet to talk about and discuss books and books I'm reading, etc. But I think I'm just gonna keep it all on my main channel. And if you don't want to watch book videos, you don't have to watch my book videos. I think I started the second channel because I had this hesitation about the algorithm, and when it comes down to it, like, YouTube is truly just a hobby for me. So I don't care about the algorithm, and it's just easier and less stressful for me if I just have the one channel. And I'm gonna try and post like a book video a week is what I'm thinking. Maybe, yeah, maybe like hopefully a book video a week is what I'm thinking. I do have a February month-long reading vlog. I only read 3 books in February, so it's not like super exciting, but I did like vlog throughout the month me reading. So I'm gonna try and continue on with month-long reading vlogs, as well as probably not monthly wrap-ups, because I'm not gonna come on and talk about like 3 books that I read, but I'll try and do maybe I'll do month-long wrap-ups with my TBRs or to-be-reads, something like that. I don't know. If you guys have book content that you want to see from me, let me know in the comments. But today I'm sharing all the books that I've read in the last 4 months, because I haven't updated about what books I've read since I did an October wrap-up, and that is it. I read quite a few books in November, but then December, January, and February, I didn't read a lot. So I think I have 19 books to talk about today. So I hope that doesn't bother you guys. Again, if you are only here for the makeup, you don't like reading, you don't like talking about books, you don't have to watch my book videos, and it's gonna be fine. But if you are here for makeup and reading, or even just reading, today we're doing a reading video, a book video. Okay, where are we at? So I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf. I have my planner in front of me. I'm like literally sitting on my feet. Okay, I'm gonna read my planner. I'm gonna go by reading my planner. So another thing that was stressing me out is I had so many books, and I had books that I like finished reading that I like knew I wasn't gonna reread. Like, they weren't books that I loved, but then I felt like I had to keep them around because I had a book channel, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this to myself. I'm not gonna like hoard all these books and hoard this makeup because of my channel. So I brought a bunch of books that I knew I wasn't going to read again, to half-price books. So some of them I'll have to post a picture over on the screen, and I read some of them on Kindle Unlimited. I'm just rambling at this point. Let's get into all the books that I read the last 4 months. So all the way back in November, I read Twisted Love, and you guys, I was so excited to start the Twisted series because I felt like I had heard nothing but good things. And the first like third of this book I felt like was decent, and then it just like took a turn for the worse after that. I really didn't enjoy this book at all. I gave this a generous, I believe, 3 stars, but like upon reflection, I don't even know that I would give it 3 stars. The ending, you guys, when Alex was singing the song, like when he sang at the end, like I was like, am I actually reading this right now? Like, I need a barf bucket to throw up into. I also feel like I'd heard really good things about like the spice in the Twisted series, and I just don't remember being all that impressed with it, and it did not make me want to continue on in the Twisted series. I've heard so many people say the second book, I believe is Twisted Hate, is their favorite. I just don't know if I'm ready to commit to that. Like, I didn't fall in love with really any of the characters. So if you're living under a rock and haven't heard, Twisted Love is about Anna and Ava. It is enemies to lovers. It just this was not good. And if you love that book, I apologize. I don't even know really what more to say about it. It was so forgettable. It was forgettable in a sense of like, I don't know what happened, but I don't forget how disappointed I was in the book. Next up, I read Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is the second book in her Never After series. The first book was Hooked, which I absolutely loved. I really enjoyed Scarred, but I will say I enjoyed Hooked more. I did still give Scarred a 4 out of 5 stars. This is a Lion King retelling, and of all of the Emily McIntyre books that I've read, this is the least memorable for me, but I still did really enjoy it. I remember the spice being really good in this. I had a note for all of these books and like for my wrap up, and then I decided I wasn't going to continue on with my book channel, and so I deleted the note. So I will take better notes for videos going forward, but I want to say I gave it like 3.5 chili peppers on a 5 chili pepper rating scale. I will say I don't necessarily know how to even like describe this book. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was good. I'm not the best at describing books. Hopefully it'll get better as I go along. I will say I enjoyed this book, but it wasn't super memorable. Like, I'm like trying to think of like how to describe what happened in the book, and I'm coming up short. Next up, I have a book that I read on Kindle Unlimited, which was Love Letter to Whiskey, and I had been hearing a couple of people talk about this book, and for some reason I thought that this was like going to be a 5-star read for me. I was so excited to read this book, and I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a frustrating book to read. I, again, don't even feel like I can remember the names of the characters, but you're following this couple that just like loves each other, but there's like miscommunication, and like they just never find the right time to be together. But then like the ending of the book just felt very rushed to me. Like, it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh. I will say the way that the book ended was really interesting. Like, I wasn't expecting the way that it ended, but it took me longer to read this book as well. I remember it took me like over a week to read, which in November I was like flying through books. Like, I would read a book every 2 to 3 days. So for it to take me longer than a week means I wasn't loving it that much. This was one that I read on Kindle Unlimited and told myself I would purchase if I loved it, but I didn't. So I'm glad that I didn't buy the physical copy of this book. Then I read Finley Donovan is Killing It, and I really enjoyed this one. This was just like a cute, cozy mystery, and you're following Finley in this story. She's an author in the story, and she is recently divorced. She is just kind of like a hot mess, and it was really fun to read her character in general just because she was such a hot mess. And I feel like El Casimano did such a good job of creating Finley's character. So Finley is an author, and she meets her. There's just so many like funny, like, this is a very comical book. Like, I was laughing out loud many times throughout this read. So Finley is in a Panera discussing her newest book with her agent, and someone sitting next to them overhears and thinks that Finley is actually a hit woman and doesn't realize she's just like talking about what she wants to write her next book about. So this woman leaves Finley a note basically hiring her as a hit woman to take care of her husband, and you're basically following that story, and it is just a riot. Vero, Finley's nanny in this book, is also like, their dynamic is just so good. The character, like, I really truly fell in love with Finley and Vero in this story. I also really hated Stephen, Finley's ex, in this. So I felt like the character development was just so good, and you'll see later that I also read Finley Donovan Knocks Him Dead and ended up loving that one even more. Highly recommend this series. I did give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Indigo Ridge, which is the first book in the Eden series. I was really excited to read this because this was getting so much hype, and I did really enjoy this book. I believe I gave this a 4 out of 5 star, although I will say I was more interested in the mystery like subplot of this book than I was the actual romance. I thought that this was going to be a super spicy book, and it really wasn't at all. I was definitely disappointed in the spice level because going into it I thought it was going to be just incredible, and there wasn't a ton of spice. So if you're looking for spice, I don't feel like you're going to get like, you're not gonna get like HD Carlton level spice or even Tessa Bailey level spice out of the Eden series. But It was just a cute, cozy romance with a little bit of mystery in the background. So in this book, you are following Winslow and Knox. Winslow is new to Quincy, Montana, which is where this book takes place. She is the new chief of police. Her first night in town, she goes to a small town bar, hooks up with Knox, not knowing he is one of the Edens. And then she starts following like a mystery, like a crime that happens on the Eden Ranch, and realizes that lo and behold, there is Knox, who she thought she was just gonna have a one-night stand with, and it doesn't end up being that. Nothing like earth-shattering, not like a new favorite by any means. Next up, I read The Roommate by Rosie Danan, and I actually really loved this book. The only thing I didn't love about this book, I didn't realize going into it that this book was written in third person, and I don't know the last time I read a third person book, so it was like a little bit hard for me to like get into in the beginning. But in this book, you are following Clara and Josh, and Clara is basically moving across country to come move in with who she has like a longtime crush on. But before she moves in, he tells her that he's like going away on tour, and he found someone else basically to be her roommate for the summer. And so she's super disappointed. Josh is her new roommate, and it turns out Josh is actually in the sex industry. This is a super sex positive book, and it was just really cute. I thought Clara's character was really funny. I also loved Josh. Like, I just loved both of them. Loved their story. It was a cute little romance. I did give this 4 out of 5 stars. Spice in this one, I think, again, I deleted my note, I want to say it was like a 3 or a 3.5. It was good. Again, not like a new favorite, but I did really enjoy reading that. Then I finally finished the Inheritance Game series. I finally read The Final Gambit, and I enjoyed this one, but this was my least favorite of the 3. This one, I just felt like there was so much going on, and it was written just like a little bit differently. Like, it wasn't, I don't know how to describe the differences. It wasn't as good in my opinion as the first 2. I did see that Jennifer Lynn Barnes is coming out with a 4th book written from the brothers' point of view, which I think will be really fun to read. But I still enjoyed this. I still gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. In reality, I probably would give it like a 4.5, but series in general, series as a whole, 5-star series for me, and a really fun time to read. And then this is where it really went downhill. So I also read Happenstance. This is the last book that I read in November. This is by Tessa Bailey. This is a reverse harem book. It's 1 girl, 3 guys. I don't even like, this was so bad, you guys. Like, it was like insta love. There was no connection between any of the characters. I literally did not care about any of the characters. I didn't enjoy any of the characters. I feel like I like skimmed the last like half of the book, and I just honestly hated this book. This was a 1-star read for me. I don't know that I've ever had a 1-star read, and I hate to say it, but I thought this was just so bad. I almost brought this 2 half-price books to just like get rid of, but I do kind of want to keep all my Tessa Bailey books. But I thought this was so bad. This is about Elise, and she is trying to like come up with like a big story for the Gotham Times. She wants to like hit it big in writing, but she's like a sandwich cart worker at the Gotham Times. I think she works at the Gotham Times. And one day she's taking the ferry home after following like the mayor or someone in politics to a different town. I'm like, I don't even know, like I don't remember anything about this. But when she gets on the ferry, it gets stuck, and she's in this car with 3 other guys, and then they like almost have like a foursome in this train car. It's just like a waste of a read. Waste of time, in my opinion. I did not enjoy that book. Okay, my feet are falling asleep, but I don't want to like sit on my butt, so I'm literally like squatting, standing here. In December, I only read 3 books, and I actually don't own any of the books. So the first book that I read was Juniper Hill, which is the 2nd book in the Eden series. I thought I was going to love this book. The first half of the book I really enjoyed. In this book, I cannot remember the names of the characters that you're following, but the single mom basically shows up in Quincy, Montana, and she is going to live, like rent out a space from one of the other Eden brothers, and he is a chef. He's super grumpy. It's kind of like, wouldn't say grumpy sunshine, but he's just like a very grumpy character, and she's a stressed out single mom, and their romance is so cute in the beginning, but towards like the second half of the book, it was just like a little bit unbelievable, and I just didn't enjoy the second half of the book. I ended up giving that book 3 out of 5 stars as well. Okay, decided I need to sit. Okay, then I read Voyeur, which I believe is the first book in a 4 or 6 book series about this voyeur sex club. And you're following, again, I don't remember the names, you guys. I had notes. This was a 3 out of 5 star read for me. It was fine, but like nothing super memorable. But you're following this girl. She works, her parents basically like take all of her money that she has for college and use it to like pay off their own bills. So she needs to make money to pay for going to school. So she ends up getting a job at this voyeur club, and her professor is a member of this club and has been watching her, and the two of them form a romance, but he hasn't told her that like he goes and has like already seen her at the voyeur club. And so that's basically like the premise of the book. It was good. It just wasn't memorable. Like, it was fine. I just wasn't like uber impressed. I think eventually I might continue on in the series, but I'm not like rushing to like read all of them. Plus I think some of them are like more like BDSM, which just like is not my thing. Like, I don't really care to read about that. So that's where we're at with that. And then the last book I read in December was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I was super excited to read this because so many people raved about this. I did end up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this, but I don't know if I was in like a reading slump or just like wasn't feeling anything that I was reading, but I just wasn't like super excited to pick this book up every single day. I will say that the plot twist was really good. The plot twist got me, but I did not leave the book feeling like super inspired to go read the next like Alice Feeney book. Like, it was just like, it was good. It was like a fun read, but like I wasn't super excited about it. I do feel like I was in a bit of like a slump there for a bit, and it's like I could have read anything and I wasn't going to be super impressed with it. But I ended up only giving that one 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't love either of the characters, which I think could have been part of why I was struggling a little bit with the book. But that was the last book that I read in December. I did end up reading 5 books in the month of January. So the first book that I finished in January was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, the first book in the UCMH series. I did really enjoy this book, although I did only give it a 4 out of 5 stars because I didn't leave this book with a 5-star feeling. Could have been because I was in this like reading sort of mode. But in this book, you are following Anastasia and Nathan. And something happens at the beginning of the book where the hockey team and the figure skating team are forced to share the same rink. Anastasia is kind of like a very grumpy character. She's just super competitive, so she comes off a little bit grumpy. And then Nathan is this just like golden retriever, like love him sort of character, and he just like wants Anastasia to like be his friend. And their dynamic, their banter was just so cute. They had really great communication. Like, their communication was really good, which I definitely appreciated in this book. Aaron, who is Anastasia's skating partner, I absolutely despised him and his character. It didn't like ruin the story or anything for me, but like, oh, he was so frustrating to read about. I am really excited to continue on when more books are released in this series. It was really cute. Like, it was really cute. I think I was just in a mood, and I still am giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The spice in this was also really good. I don't have my notes, but I would say 3.5 to 4 chili peppers, you know? Then I read Wretched, which I really enjoyed. This is the 3rd book in the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. This is a Wizard of Oz retelling. In this, you are following Evelyn and Nicholas, and these books are so hard to describe. Like, so hard to describe without like giving too much away, but it is like a dark romance sort of situation, and this is definitely my favorite of the 3. It was so good. I read this one so quickly and was so excited to pick this up and find out what happens. I do have Twisted, which is the 4th book that came out in February, and I am really excited to read that one next. I definitely recommend the Never After series, especially if you like dark romances. I think they're really good. I haven't been disappointed by any of the books thus far, so very excited. Hopefully I will read Twisted in the month of March. Okay, then you guys, I read Longshot on Kindle Unlimited because I was really feeling a sports romance, and I thought this was just gonna be like a happy-go-lucky basketball romance, which I was super excited for because I hadn't read a basketball sports romance yet. And I didn't go into it knowing that I should search trigger warnings. I didn't know there were trigger warnings. I went in blind thinking this was just going to be a cutesy romance. Check trigger warnings for this book. This is not a happy book by any means. So in this book, you are following August and Iris, and it starts out where August and Iris meet in this bar. They have like a very brief conversation, and it's almost like August just like feels this instant connection to Iris, but she is currently in a relationship, and August is in the NCAA championship for college, and he's playing in the game the next day, and the two just like go their separate ways. And you find out that Iris is currently in a relationship with the basketball player, like the star of the other team that August's team is playing the next day. Caleb is the name of the guy that Iris is currently in a relationship with. And I will say the first scene, like literally the first sentence about Caleb, in my head I was like, I feel like Caleb is going to be like an abusive boyfriend in this book. And again, I went into this book blind knowing literally nothing about it, so it terrifies me that like my brain could pick up on that. But there are so many trigger warnings in this book. This was such a triggering book for me personally, and I wasn't expecting it. I also wasn't expecting myself to be like, I didn't think I could be triggered. Not that I could, but I just like don't see myself as, I see myself as a person who like can compartmentalize things and just like lock things away, and like they don't affect me, and like I just whatever. But when I tell you this book was so triggering to me, it was so triggering to me. There were moments where like I truly felt like I was going to puke as I was reading this book, but I wanted to finish. It was a very, very, very good book, but so incredibly hard for me personally to read, and I think for a lot of people to read. This will be a very hard book to read. So check trigger warnings if you're interested in reading this book. I did give this 4 out of 5 stars. I just don't know with like everything going on in that book if I could give this a 5 stars, but it was very, very good. It took me longer to read because again, there were like moments that like I couldn't read anymore because it was so hard to read. Very good book. Check trigger warnings if you want to read that. There are 2 or 3 other books in the series, and I do want to read them. I'm just frightened. Like I don't know if I can handle it. Then I read, continuing on with my sports romances, I read Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. This was cute, but honestly just like too cute. Like I can't do the like fairy tale perfect situation. Like I need there to be like tension, I need there to be fighting, I need there to be like anger. Like it needs to be like believable, not just like this book was just like like very unbelievable. Like I know there's so many books where it's like, oh, a billionaire and blah blah blah, and it's not believable, but like it's just like nobody loves each other with like it just was kind of boring. Like I was bored with their romances, I guess what I'll say. So the final book that I read in January really like turned the page for me when it came to reading and kind of getting out of this like blah feeling about reading. And I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I finally picked this book up and I'm so excited to continue on in the series. This was just a fun read. Like if you like crime podcasts and things like that, you just like following like mysteries, I think you will really enjoy this. It is YA, so it's a really quick read. It's not too gruesome, and I really had so much fun with this. I loved Pip, the main character. So in this book, you are following Pip, who is researching a murder that happened in their town 5 years ago. She is doing this for her capstone project for senior year. So she is researching the murder of Andy Bell, who is believed to have been murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singh. But Pip thinks that there might be more to the story that meets the eye, and she doesn't necessarily believe everything, all the details surrounding this murder. So she decides to take matters into her own hands and she does research. I love the way that this book is written. There's like parts where she has like transcripts from like interviews and stuff she did. It's such a fun book. It was a really good read, and it definitely got me out of my reading slump. I did give this a 5 out of 5 stars, and again, very excited to continue on in that series. So that brings me to February, which was a very slow reading month for me, and I'm very disappointed in myself because I was traveling for work and I expected to have read so much more because I was on an airplane and things like that, but alas, that was not my destiny. So I did end up reading Finley Donovan Knocks Dead. As I mentioned, this 5 out of 5 stars. I like this even more than the original Finley Donovan. Finley's character development, she just grows into her own even more in this book. I laughed even harder reading this book. Her and Vero's relationship grows even more within this book. I love Vero's character, like I said, as well, and I just thought this was so good. There were so many laugh out loud moments in this. Again, you're following Finley as she tries to figure out, I don't want to say too much because I feel like this could ruin like the first book. Like I don't want to say anything that's going to be a spoiler for anything, but it's kind of like a cozy mystery sort of situation again, and it's just a riot. Such a good time. I did purchase Finley Donovan. What's the third one? Finley Donovan. I purchased the third book in the series and I cannot wait to read it. The second book I read in February was Flawless by Elise Silver, I think, and I loved this book as well. 5 out of 5 stars. Very good reading month for me in the month of February. All 5-star reads, but I only read 3 books. This was so good. I don't want to say too much about Flawless because like I said, I do have a reading vlog coming up where I share more in that video, so stay tuned for that. But I absolutely loved Flawless. If you are looking for some good angst and some good tension building, definitely recommend this romance. The spice in this book, 5 out of 5. Literally so good. It was 20 pages. One scene was 20 pages long. Literally can't get enough. It was so good. Check out my upcoming reading vlog if you want to hear more about that. And the final book that I read in February, and again, check out more in my upcoming reading vlog if you want to hear more, but I did read The Final Offer by Lauren Asher, the 3rd book in the Dreamland Billionaires series, and I have given every book in the series 5 stars. This is no exception. This is by far my favorite book in the series. It was quite a chunky book. In this book, you're following Callahan and Alana. And rather than the other 2 books where it's Grumpy Sunshine, Cal is not grumpy. Oh my gosh, like he is like the perfect book boyfriend in my opinion, except for like his addiction issues. But he has to fulfill his challenge basically so that all 3 brothers can get their inheritance. The love interest in this book, Alana, is just like this sassy spitfire, and she is a single mother of the cutest book child I have ever read. And their relationship, like just Cal's relationship with Cammie, the 5-year-old daughter in this book, is just so sweet and so cute. I loved it so much. So 5 out of 5 stars for this. The spice in this was good, but I've read better. You know? 3.5 chilies. That's what I'd say. But those are all of the books that I've read the last 4 months. I will, again, either maybe I'll do like monthly reading wrap up and my monthly TBR in the same video, just to kind of keep my brain in check too, so I'm not like, oh, I read that book 4 months ago, what did I read about? But if you guys have read any of these books, I would love to know what your thoughts were in the comments below. If you have any book recs for me, definitely leave your comments down below. But other than that, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch, for supporting me in my different content that I'm gonna be posting on this channel as well. I appreciate it, and I love you guys so much. I will catch you in my next video. Bye.